Welcome to the smartest people in the room. We are glad you are here, and just by showing up, you're already demonstrating your very own smarts. Today, I am pleased to present two guys who are all about building communities via their respective platforms, both of which you need to be following. I promise you will leave smarter and more enlightened than you arrived. Before we get started, please let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the music industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. I run the music practice at Turnkey ZRG, and I place music executives in jobs throughout the industry. So by definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, share your LinkedIn profile, say hello to your friends, and please make some new ones. And ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those directly during the interview. Also, and this is very important, please make sure your chat is set to address everyone, not just the host and speakers. That goes for you, Lars, and also Joseph. I want to thank our program sponsors for out their support. We could not do this for free. Special thanks to MedJet, Turnkey ZRG, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Tennessee Brew Works, and Better Than Booze. So let's get down to business. In today's host seat is my good friend and my pal, Lars Murray. He is a strategist, marketer, creator, and connector with a track record of opening new revenue streams and opportunities at Pandora, Columbia Records, and for partners and clients in the music, media, technology, and entertainment fields. And currently, it's also a partner in the music podcast company called Pop Cult Worldwide. Lars has deep experience in the major label, independent label, and digital development sectors, attacking new projects for initiatives, opening new revenue streams and venues for exposure, operating on the principle that the direct artist-to-fan relationship is the core of any successful music initiative. Most importantly, Lars produces a daily podcast called Unlimited Supply, and if you work anywhere in the music business, this should be part of your daily routine. It is a quick hit, 7-minute long summary of the most important stories impacting our business. Trust me, you will be the smartest person in the room if you make this part of your daily routine. Catch it on any platform where you currently consume podcasts. And joining Lars today is the incredibly smart and talented Joseph Perla. Joseph is an entrepreneur and music tech expert currently serving as the founder and CEO of Hangout, a social platform connecting users through the discovery and curation of music. He got his start during his years attending Princeton University, where he launched several social networks tailored to his interests, including Zandingo in 2005 for college students and Lab Meeting in 2007 for scientists. He was also in 2011 a founder behind Turntable, which introduced the idea of social listening. Joseph spent time working at Facebook, where he led product and engineering for Facebook's iPhone newsfeed. He co-founded Terminal.com, where he helped to secure over $4 million in funding, which was acquired by Udacity in 2017, and spearheaded passenger and growth at Lyft during its most significant expansion phase. It is my pleasure to welcome these two rock stars to our platform today. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you
Thank
for
you, Tom.
excellent introduction. And hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up to all you guys. I'm really excited to be here with my friend Joseph, because we've been working together for a little over a year or so, but I go back a much longer way with his product. And I think I'm here to learn a little more about Joseph myself as we do this. So So I'm probably going to be asking most of the questions here, unless you want to ambush me, Joseph, with any of them. But yeah, thanks everybody for and throw stuff in. This should be a wide open conversation. But just to get things started, we were talking a little bit before the thing, and uh, one of my first questions was sort of a Rashomon story, and I kind of threw it out to Joseph. Where did we meet? What's your story about where we first met? What?
I looked at the message history and I see we talked on Zoom at some point in October of 2 years ago, but we met in person the first time. I was in Thanksgiving randomly in New York, in Brooklyn, not far from you actually, and then I remembered that you were in New York, and so I reached out and was able to meet up with you in person in a little cafe and had a great time. Yeah, everyone said reached out to my team, my advisors, and my lawyers. Everyone said you're a great person, and I enjoyed it as well. And but I don't remember the Zoom meeting entirely. I've been doing back-to-back meetings with people all over the world a lot, and I can't remember exactly how they go. But I did remember you were in New York.
So it's even more. I have an even more specific memory of it, which was that I was at Music Tectonics. We were at Music Tectonics, and I was done. I was completely, it was Friday morning and I was exhausted and I was ready to go back to New York, and I had booked an earliest flight, and I was waiting for my bag at the checkout.
Oh,
I checked my bag at the event, waiting for my bag, and you were standing next to me. And I asked this is actually one of the things that inspired what I do with my podcast. So the who are you and why are you here? I think I literally asked you, who are you and why are you here? Expecting
oh,
like not to hear, no, like expecting just, whatever, I'm here. And then you told me that you had founded Turntable. And I was like, I'm happy that you don't remember exactly how badly
no,
I
that's why I
exaggerated out.
couldn't. That's why I couldn't
So
find any emails about our Zoom. I guess we didn't do a Zoom. I guess we just saw.
it was before.
That was it.
No, no, it was,
Oh.
and then you told me you were going to be in New York, so we got together. But actually, I sort of, hey, can we do a bit of a chat show of hands? How many people here remember Turntable FM
From 2011.
from 2011? All right, there's Katonia. Okay, anybody else? I'm asking this because I want to set this up a little bit because I think it's pretty important for Joseph's and my interaction, but also, just in general, like, when you're thinking about Hangout and stuff. So there we go. Oh, Sam Tall, staple in the dorm room. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I'll do a little exposition here. I was an enthusiastic, uh, I won't even say early adopter, but viral adopter of an app called Turntable.fm back in the summer of 2011. And I've told many people this. If you've heard it before, I'm going to keep telling this story till the end of time. I've never seen anything destroy more productivity in Office. Actually, one other thing ever in my career that I saw destroy productivity in Office because people couldn't stop using it while they were at their desks. The first one that I ever saw do that was eBay
Hmm.
when I was at Rykodisc in the late 90s. And people at Rykodisc were such like swag traders that they spent all day, and that was sort of the end of that company. And then, summer of 2011, a bunch of people in the office started using this social listening platform called Turntable FM. And we would get into these epic DJ battles, intra office, intra building, in the Sony Music branded room on a non licensed app. So, um, Turntable was very huge. And then Turntable went away. And then we all mourned Turntable and we didn't know exactly what happened. So when I ran into this guy and I asked him, who are you and why are you here at Music Tectonics in 2023? I guess it was now.
Was that the airport you said, or at
No,
the?
no, I was literally, I was just walking out. You could check your bags.
Oh, check your
You
bags
were
at the hotel.
standing next to me, and I don't know if you were leaving or staying or whatever.
I
I
vaguely
was
remember this.
Had
Yeah.
I not had I not been waiting for my bags, I never would have said anything. I would have just like kept walking, but I was like, okay, well, who is this guy? And you were like, I'm Joseph Perla. I founded Turntable.fm and I'm relaunching it as Hangout. And I was like, I almost missed my plane. So, anyway, let's go. I want to wind the clock back to a little This Is Your Life. So, where did that original, so Hangout and Turntable, social listening platforms, where did that idea come from? Like, when did
Yeah.
you first?
So that's actually the first social music platform. No one had ever done anything like it, or really even since, really. Anytime someone tries to do something similar or with like real time, whatever, they always referred to Turntable. So they still do. Actually, even 15 years later, people are inspired by it. And I originally came up with it in 2010. I was going to a lot of concerts, music festivals like Lightning in a Bottle, Coachella, Burning Man, and I really loved the community ethos of that. So the music part, really, really valuable for a way to connect with people. And then the community part, the festivals really brought that alive. And that started becoming being the genesis of the music festival seasons. That's kind of dropped off a bit recently, but I think it was huge back then. And then the other thing is I had a long distance girlfriend at the time, so I would send her music videos. YouTube was getting big, and so I'd send music videos. She would send me music videos, and even with that long distance, it was still a great way to connect with people. So I could see that there was something there. And then when I thought through, like, okay, well, what could it be? You can already send music videos, so is there anything that you can add on top of that? And once I thought through what that meant and what it means to have something be what is the point of music? It helps people connect in the same room live. Like whenever you invite people to your house, you always play music. And if you go to a cafe, there's music playing. At a bar, there's music. Just music gets everyone on the same frequency, gets everyone in harmony. And if you don't have that, then you have people going in their own directions. And we kind of have the kind of fights and factions that we have now, where everyone's kind of diverging. So I realized in 2010 that there could be something there, and imagine what that could be. I was working at a startup at the time that we like ended up shifting entirely, started focusing on this. Um, Always there's random co-founder conflicts and things like that. So there was, like with any startup that often happens, but the was able to build out this product that went super viral.
So,
Uh,
so wait, what was the original product?
there's
That's how Twitter came about too, right? I mean,
Yeah, there's another product called Sticky Bits, which was like a VR like barcode scanning project. It wasn't ever very good actually, but it was interesting to work on things at the time. The other thing that was really popular around that time was gamification. So that's where the ideas around turntables gaming elements came in just because that was the zeitgeist at the time. And so it felt very natural, actually, ended up being a big part of the stickiness of it, and which
uh,
is we still have with Hangout.
so you were, was there like one sort of eureka moment where you're sitting around the office and you're like, did somebody like go home and do it overnight? Was like, how does that work? I mean, because I'm from the music industry and the music industry operates in a certain way. Um, it's not often that you get somebody, people don't actually build stuff. So, in that, I'm kind of curious about that environment, like at a tech startup, like how does that work? And like, if were you one of the founders? Were you in charge? Were you like, okay, this is fine, or did you have to like go through some wall to say, hey, I came up with this thing and pitch it internally? Like, how did that work?
So when you're in tech and you can build things, you're constantly going around and making little demos and like coming up with ideas and coming up with like, oh, what if we make the YouTube API better? And then you actually like build out a whole thing around this YouTube thing. So I've been in startups since 2005. So I'd already done two startups by then. And I had actually dropped out of college to work on more startups. So I was always thinking about new startup ideas all the time. And so this is one of the many ideas I had. And yeah, so I was ready to shift and go into a whole new field, a whole new area. And that's basically how it started. It was like, okay, I'm this is not the right thing to work on anymore. Gonna do a whole new thing entirely. And so when I started working on that, then that became inspiring, and people started to follow that, and so we ended up doubling down on with everyone. Yeah.
And so you tinker around with this thing, you pivot your company to it, and then when it goes viral, like what happened? What like that viral? What happened with a viral moment? When did you like what
Yeah.
did it feel like? I've not really I've experienced for the music side, but uh,
So,
you
so
know,
I want to qualify it because I always, even while building it, I was like, oh, I think we should really get the music rights about with this before we actually launch. I mean, it's good to demo it and beta it. This is one of the, disagreements with other co-founders about it. And I was saying we should get the rights first, figure that out. But anyway, we ended up testing it on some of my colleagues from Princeton were visiting. They were in college, they were seniors in college, and they were visiting the New York office. And so I actually had them try out Turntable as an early version as we launched it. And they, had it publicly all available, and they tried it and they were like, this isn't very good. I don't get it. So that was actually the first test. And so that was a bit disappointing. But as we kind of kept iterating and just like let it be out there and have one viral mechanism that I added was you couldn't actually log in if you just found it. You had to actually know someone who's already in the program. We did that by integrating the Facebook login and then saying, oh, one of your friends has to be on it already. They could invite you, or you could just, they could be on there. And so you had to log into Facebook to use it. So that ended up being incredibly viral as well. So uh, eventually, within a few weeks actually of getting it online, doing that first test, it just started going viral. Got to millions of users in just a few months before the labels came in and said, this is not licensed. We got to shut this down internationally. It's going to lose, 75% of its traffic overnight. Like it's a bit sad. I mean, it kind of proved out that when I decided to do Hangout, now that I needed to actually do things from inside the industry to work with the industry, even get all the licensing even before we launched, which I know a lot of companies don't really do, but that's what we decided to do upfront here since 2020.
this is another question that I've got because again, haven't been on the other side of this. So when when you guys get the call from the label back, when you launched, and so you've gone viral, and so but again, was there a moment when you knew you went viral, or is it just sort of like you came up and all? I've got all these
Uh,
questions. Like,
there's a TechCrunch article that's like, oh, like, these famous investors are using it. You should use it too. So that was probably a big thing, but like, yeah, the servers start going down immediately and multiple times over the few months. But that happens really rarely. Like a lot of companies try to launch. Usually you have to launch multiple times before it starts to go viral.
mhm.
Uh, and it's tough because you try to launch earlier than you're ready for software, but also that's also not ready, right? So you're not really ready to launch. So it was a bit lucky to get Lightning to strike, and also it's quite a bit ahead of its time, I guess, in terms of being about real time. Like people forget about this, but we launched before Spotify even existed, right? So there was literally no Spotify in the US. And so people had no conception of like, wow, on-demand streaming, that makes sense. Also, gaming wasn't a culture. Like people do casual games all the time now. Fortnite makes billions of dollars selling skins and avatars and virtual goods. But in 2011, it was like, will people pay for virtual images? Like they didn't know. We didn't know that Bitcoin, it wasn't on anyone's radar. Like, but now obviously everyone's like, of course, digital goods are worth trillions. But that just wasn't, that was a theory in 2011. So there wasn't any concept of a either subscription business model or a virtual goods business model in 2011. It was just this core element. That's why it was, a decade ahead. Yeah.
And so what is the licensing call? I got to deep dig on that. What is the licensing call? Who is it? Is it a lawyer? Is it an email? Is it a cease and desist? Is it a combination of three? Is it a guy coming to your door with a baseball bat? Like what?
I didn't answer that, and then we ended up hiring some people to handle that, like Rishi, who's now at Amazon, is doing that. But yeah, I was so involved in that part. I'm enjoying staying on the side of getting all the licenses up front and having
Yeah,
built a relationship with all the labels.
got it. So that basically shut you down. Like that was that you didn't have the licenses, and then so
Yeah, it was
then
the beginning of the
then-
end. Yeah.
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 So so so
The
then
company, the corporation completely shut down in 2014. But yeah, that's corporate stuff.
got it. So in your terms of your timeline, where did you go next? Did you go to
Yeah, so
you
I
said you
ended
were
up buying.
at Facebook and Lyft.
Yeah, I
So
ended up. So I had dropped out to do startups in New York, and then I actually ended up going back to college to finish. So I ended up taking up to I think it was like 12 courses in a semester at one point, just to go really deep in computer science and AI, and really loved it. It was really great to reconnect with just pure academics, and graduated. I actually got accepted into a PhD program in AI. But while I was traveling through the European summer, really enjoying that, I realized that maybe there was some opportunities in tech because Facebook started recruiting me for Turntable, and they were pretty heavily doing that. They actually paid for my ticket to go from Europe to the US and interview with them, and I was very impressed by the quality of the talent there. Very impressed by how flexible it is, very impressed by how much ownership engineering has there. And so I actually decided to delay doing the PhD to start working on at Facebook. And so I started working at Facebook on the iOS app and leading the newsfeed team of that. And that was really fun to work on something that's deployed to hundreds of millions, billions of people. And so pretty excited to learn all that and really just like there's when you're shipping to that many people, every little pixel counts. So I learned a very strong attention to every little detail when doing these things. And the other thing is Mark Zuckerberg has a very strong focus on the metrics, and that's also really important for any kind of startup. Really hammering home like what is important, what are the main KPIs? Like, there's no watering down. Oh, there's a tiny blip here. Is it because of Easter, or is it because you shipped something? It's just learned all of those things. It's very, very, very important. Mobile at the time was a super key part of the company because they were going, just going IPO, and people wanted to understand what the mobile story was. iPhone was going crazy. So I really like was in the main part of the main part of the building actually. My desk was actually right across from Mark Zuckerberg's desk, which he was at sometimes, although he's more at the office, which was also right across from my desk. He's in a big glass cube that I could watch all day. But it was a lot of interacting with extremely strong personalities building the mobile app by the seat of our pants. I mean, the code base was insane. We had over 1,000 people committing code every single week and constantly changing things without telling other people. So it was just the most chaotic environment for getting anything done, and it still worked. I'm still shipping every month. Yeah.
And this is what timeline wise, when was this, like mid teens or
Yeah, 2012, 2014. Yeah.
got it. And so did you it sounds like you were working pretty hard. Were you able to keep up with music during that time?
No, not so much. Yeah, I was working very hard. I'd never like drank a lot of coffee. I started drinking a lot of coffee. They have Phil's coffee there. I started having like jitteriness from so much coffee and staying up working all day and night. I remember one time staying up working till like 9. Elon Musk came over and was hanging out with Zuck right in front of us, in front of our war room on the couch. And I was like, wow, this is like Silicon Valley, so Silicon Valley. Yeah.
Different kind of fandom. Um what so then you're there, you do the Facebook thing, and then you were at Lyft. Was that a direct move, or was that did you wandered there, or like how did that go? Like,
Yeah, so I ended up I really enjoyed working on that and leading that, but the focus on metrics was a bit too much. I started bringing up this idea of maybe people are a bit too addicted. Like we had launched Facebook videos while I was there. We launched the infinite scroll newsfeed that didn't exist before that, and it felt a bit too addictive. Too much. People were kind of just mind-numbingly using it and not having a connective experience. And I tried to bring that up to people and the leadership, and people were kind of getting it, but they were like, okay, but then what are you measuring? And it all came down to like, what are you measuring? It's like, oh, maybe you can't really measure it, but there's got to be something better. And I tried really hard, but it clearly wasn't getting anywhere. So I decided I wanted to leave and go to start my PhD in AI. So I left and started doing that for a bit. My advisor ended up that was the beginning of the boom in AI. So my advisor ended up getting hired by Amazon, and then I realized maybe I should come back to tech. I keep getting pulled back into tech, even when I keep trying to do something else. Yeah, so he went to Amazon. And I thought, oh, maybe I should work at Amazon. I ended up founding another company called Terminal.com, and that is a technical thing, but basically we built like AWS, Amazon AWS, but faster. And it's an infrastructure company. That was really a great experience as well. I worked with three other co-founders that were also all amazing. They're now at either Google or started their own company, or one guy, Jeff Wu, he created GPT-2 and GPT-3 and GPT-4. Like he's on the papers.
whoa.
So really brilliant co-founders. We ended up selling that to Udacity in a few years later. But then I joined Lyft. So I joined Lyft in 2015. It was, had just launched its self-driving service. It's a shared driving service, and Uber just started competing with it. It was very competitive. And I came in and they really needed growth engineering, growth management. And I realized that I could do a lot of growth hacks to kind of make things better. So I ran a team that used Android, iOS, web. It was a remote team as well, and we coordinated constantly improving the app based on the metrics, using all the experiences I had from Facebook, and making something that took, I mean, we had like 10% market share against Uber at the time when I joined, and then by 2 years later, we had 40% market share against Uber in the US. So a lot of good growth there by leveraging what our strengths were, which is
Yeah,
being
so
able
how
to.
like how does that you I wanted to ask you earlier about the Facebook growth hack. So you when you for the original turntable, did they did Facebook slam the door shut on that kind of thing after you did it, or is that something that you could have done over and over again? And then when you went over to Lyft and you're charged with growth hacking, like how do you think about that? Because that's relevant to lots. It's relevant to tech. It's also relevant to anything. So
Yeah, the Facebook login thing. So they Facebook was doing. They had they had an accelerator incubator program actually called the Facebook Fund, and they were actually funding apps to join. Zynga famously was built on Facebook and grew a
right.
lot from that. I think at some point, yeah, in the mid 2010s, they started to shut down the API access more and more, so that wasn't so available as much. They weren't promoting it as much. That really hurt Zynga, I think, in the short and long term there. It's funny you mentioned the Facebook login though, because at Lyft, actually, one of the best growth improvements I did there was removing the Facebook login from Lyft because it gets very complicated to manage identity and login when you have multiple ways of logging in. This is a very technical thing, but actually identity is one of the hardest problems. It's tied, I mean, banking is actually all about identity. And so like banking is a hard problem. Most people on the planet are not banked. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And that's why I think Web3 is very interesting, because what if we could bank the other, 8 billion people on the planet that don't have bank accounts? Like, how do we actually get everyone to have that? But anyway, so you asked about growth. So when you think about growth, it's all about just looking at how users are flowing into the app and and looking at the funnel that they're on and seeing what steps they're getting confused on. Sometimes it's a UI issue, like they don't see a button. A lot of the time it's a bug. Like somebody wrote code that like gets them stuck and they literally can't go anywhere. And that happened a lot. And Facebook login can cause that issue.
Huh.
So you never would know about it though. The
Yeah.
thing about onboarding is because a user who doesn't use your app, you don't have their email, they don't care about your app, they don't know anything about it, they don't know who you are, they don't know how to reach your help screen. You'll never find out a bug from them. You'll find out bugs from your users who use it all the time, and they'll have very specific bugs about some super feature that no one else has heard of. But you'll never know that, your phone number, your login doesn't work for people who are at Hotmail, because if it doesn't work, they just give up and won't use
Right.
your app.
So I want to go back to another thing that's directly music, and because it was one of the things, you original turntable went away right at the same time that Spotify launched. Like they practically,
It's a funny coincidence,
yeah.
yeah.
And so when they launched, you know, and they launched with a lot of API, with apps, within a whole app ecosystem. What did you think when that whole thing happened? We were like, oh, I missed my opportunity, or were you like, I, these guys are doing it right, or they're not doing it right, or like what did you? I mean, you must have been paying attention to this stuff while it was happening, even with your crazy gig at Facebook. How did you process that?
You said they had an app ecosystem?
They had an app. I guess they didn't. I guess you weren't. So yeah, no, when they launched, there was an app ecosystem, and they were encouraging everybody to build apps on top of Spotify to drive curation and to drive engagement. And they were engaged with publications. There was like a Stereo Gum app, and there was God, I forget what it was called. It was called Anybody Hit Me in the chat. They were based in Australia, and they were really good at it, and they ended up getting bought uh, by
Oh,
Twitter and ending up
Twitter.
becoming Twitter Music and
What? Twitter
all
music.
of it. What's that?
Twitter music. Okay. Didn't hear about
Yeah,
that.
no, Twitter. No, I forget what it was called. It was called like, Song Hunter or something like that.
Mm.
And they were originally built as an app. And we are hunted. Thank you, Sam Tall. Yes, we are hunted. There we go.
Okay.
Share a link and
Yeah,
everything.
I actually don't know any about, I'm not
So
familiar with
yeah,
all.
so well they
I
did this and
basically entered a total news feed zone for 2 years and just totally focused on I mean, like 1 billion users is what we had at the
yeah.
time. And so I was really focused on serving that. And I really got pretty deep in iOS development and Swift and management and videos, launching videos as well. Got very, 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 very deep on that. But
So
I
I
missed out
imagine
on
it was
some
the
things.
switch.
Like I almost missed out on Bitcoin. Like that was getting hot and I almost missed out on, like, there's so many things that happened that are just a gap. I did go to the NeurIPS conferences in 2011, 2012, and I thought I could see EIO is still growing. It's been my interest for a while. And I wrote a memo inside Facebook to everyone in Zuck that's saying like, hey, Facebook's not doing anything in AI. We should really do something in AI. I think it's the future. And eventually they hired Jan LeCun, and I think it's all good. I mean, maybe some people saw the memo, I don't know. But I was the first person to get to have Facebook pay to go to NeurIPS. Now they sponsor NeurIPS, which is the top AI conference. But yeah, I was pretty focused on AI and then that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, yeah, it's sad about some things that I missed out on.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that they had a social ecosystem that they were trying to build, and a distributed ecosystem driving traffic into Spotify to kind of help growth hack Spotify. I think they found out it was more trouble than it was worth, or they decided it was worth more. There was more trouble than it was worth. They were probably sharing more data than they wanted to share too.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah,
but
Spotify has taken away features more than anything, taken away more social features, and which is fine. Like they're focused on what they're really good at, which is to have the solo streaming. It's really focused on that. Yeah.
so fast forward a little bit. So you've gone through this wicked intensive Facebook thing. You've gone to Lyft and you've helped growth hack. So what brought you back to Turntable and now Hangout?
Yeah, so I've been in the Bay Area I've been in the Bay Area for decades. And then COVID happened and I wasn't great to be in San Francisco. So I realized that I wanted to try out something different. I ended up going to London and then Berlin. And in Berlin, they also closed down a lot of stuff, but it was still pretty fun. But a lot of DJs, my friends there who were DJs, were really sad. All the clubs were closed, and they said, "Oh, I'm sad I can't play music to people. It's really, I can't show off all this collection of music I have." And I thought, "Oh, well, just, use a clone of turntable.fm." And they were like, "What do you mean? What's turntable?" I realized, of course, they didn't know what it was, and there was nothing like it. So I started Googling around. There was really nothing like it. I started a crowdfunding campaign. I said, "Hey, do people want to bring turntable.fm back?" And everyone said yes. And I said, "Okay, well, put your money where your mouth is." And put up a credit card form. I said, give $1, $10, $100. Someone gave $1,000. And so thousands of people gave money to donate to bring turntable back. So I thought, okay, well, clearly this is real. People would pay for this. So no one else wants to do it, so I guess I have to do it. And so that's when in 2020 I started to talk to Universal, Sony, and Warner, and they were also excited and get them on board with bringing back Turntable, calling it Hangout. Still wasn't easy. It still took 4 years to get everything lined up. It's very expensive, but now we were able to launch it 4 months ago, and yeah, the Gen Z has a lot of time and they really love it. So they're really warming up to it and seeing all the potential. And we keep coming up with more and more use cases for it because I designed it. There's so many ways to do something with social music, and a lot of them I think are just not fun. Have never been fun. Just don't work. And so like there's a certain balance you need to do to make it fun and then also general so that people can really do anything. Like I want this to be fully as functional as a venue in a physical space where you can have a stage and you can have people coming up on stage and people not coming up on stage. And that's the design from the very beginning. People sometimes say, "Oh, this is like Clubhouse." And I'm like, "No, Clubhouse is like turntable without music." Clubhouse is awful. It's like it's not good. Like you want to have a stage, you want to have things that I think one mistake Clubhouse made is each thing they did was so ephemeral. Everything was like a one-time event. Yeah, then they had clubs and like repeating events, but like they don't have this concept of a space, this concept of like a physical place that you can decorate and have it look like a thing and you can always go to it and it's like your place where everyone knows your name and like they just don't like they're just missing so many things. It was fun for a moment at this time, but some of the most fun rooms were the ones with unlicensed music. They used music and they didn't even try to actually lean into that.
So, um, I guess the other question I've got, um, so that's interesting, Clubhouse, because like we were when Clubhouse came about, I was doing a voice startup, and I was also doing podcasting, and there was a lot of question as to whether everybody should run over to Clubhouse because that's where, that was where you had no barrier to entry and you could create these spaces and then there was Twitter Spaces and all of those things, and everybody kind of ran there. And both of my companies made a decision to just wait it out a little bit, which was really fraught at the time. And um, because we weren't, I think that was part of it. Like it was so ephemeral, you couldn't really explain it to people. And also, I think what was key was the stage thing. So the other thing I want to ask you about, because we talk about this a lot, is sort of the community versus
They also
algorithm.
Clubhouse also didn't never had a text chat like this.
Yeah,
Anyone can mention something or ask a
yeah,
question. Like they don't have any way for any kind of feedback there, which just
yeah.
limits it. It just makes this very radio-like thing that's not internet native. It's not what the future of internet should be. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt your question.
No, 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 it's fine. But also just sort of you were on the team that created an endless Facebook feed, and then you sort of got some reservations about that. How did that contribute to sort of your thinking about turntable? Was it always there? Is it a variation? Is it just a straight through line from the first time you did turntable to Hangout, or what
Yeah, that's a
everybody's
great
worried
question.
about curation and algorithms right now. So like,
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been I'm started realizing that I've been kind of thinking about ideas swimming around this for 15 years. Like it hasn't been very specific, but it's just been like, okay, what was working there? Okay, like what are we changing here? And it's kind of like following my gut each time. It's like, is this something, usually when I do something, I think, is this really something everyone can do? Is this something really long term? And it was obviously something I kept coming up with ideas. Like, what if you have a social network where only, it's no ads and it's just subscriptions and only some people pay for the subscription. And I kept getting these ideas for different products. But then like now with Hangout, I'm kind of mixing all of them together. And I'm starting to realize like actually some of this works really well together. Maybe I've just been swimming around this idea and learning all these skills around AI and growth and onboarding all this stuff just to help build this. And I'm going to more music festivals, just understanding the music industry and all that, just to get to know all of it more, to be able to do this better. And yeah, it's not specific, but it's just kind of like everything I've been learning, it just kind of comes around the same idea. And then even this week, I had a realization that I know I had this idea that maybe Hangout can help people connect more vaguely. But now I'm realizing like maybe a really big part of the disconnection we've had is the fact that most people are listening to music alone now. Maybe in the past, you had to have, anytime you listen to music, it was necessarily social because someone had to play an instrument in front of you. And then eventually we had vinyls, but even that, like they're so rare, you usually did that with other people in a bar or something, usually was in a place. And now everyone is sitting next to each other with headphones on, listening to different music. And so we're all on different wavelengths, literally. And music really trains your brain. And so apparently there's research that came out last week that said if you hear music, it like triggers some satiation part of your brain that's about social reward. So now we're sitting here listening to music, feeling like we're socializing. Well, we're definitely not socializing.
That's
And so,
really interesting. So
yeah, so maybe it this is numbing us. Maybe this is why everyone is feeling so alone. It's because part of the brain is now feeling socialized, but the rest of it is like, nope, we're not getting any of the other benefits of socialization, including like touch and like connecting and getting to know someone. And maybe that's a big problem. Like maybe the headphones are a big problem. Maybe solo streaming is a big problem. And so maybe Hangout is actually a much bigger solution to the disconnection that everyone is having. Maybe it is a solution to kickstart community and bringing harmony back to, America and the world. And yeah, so I'm excited about that. This isn't just a little game. This is something that could really heal a lot of the disconnections we're having in the planet.
it's funny because you just reminded me of something too that I had I think I might have I even identified it the first time around, um, which was that, and I'm old enough to have when I went away from home the first time, I had a choice between getting a Sony Walkman cassette and a boombox. And Sony Walkmans were, and this is how old I am, they were pretty new at the time and they were expensive as hell. And so were boomboxes. And so I was like, well, I'm going to go off to this school away from home and I'm going to either have a boombox or I'm going to have a Walkman. The Walkman's cool. Walkman sounds better. But I remember being like, yeah, but if I got a Walkman, I can't share any music with anybody and they can't share any with me. So I bought a boombox, and for that reason, for that
Wow.
very reason. And
Yeah.
it's funny that, it's really, I mean, and since then, and now, I share a lot less music. I'm a much more solitary listener myself. I don't know that if that's because I'm older, probably. But also that's an interesting thing that I'm not even sure that people, not even sure that, and I'll say it because kids today, not even sure that they really understand that there's an option to listen,
Yes,
especially
exactly.
outside of a party, or a concert.
Well, kids aren't going to parties and concerts and festivals as much anymore
Yeah. So, and
as
then,
we
so wait, and how old, you have kids? How old are they?
Yeah, I have kids 4, 2, and 0.
And
So
are they driving you crazy with kids music yet, or are you
they
teaching
love
them to
kids
be
music.
discerning listeners?
Yeah, they're also half Greek and they're quarter Greek and German. And so they like Greek cocoa melon and things like that. I love it. We actually have a turntable and Chloe loves to grab a vinyl and like put it on and play music and it's like the perfect length and she like dances to it and sings to it and it's really really fun. So yeah, they have excellent music taste, I think, actually like jazz and things like that as well, but also yeah, kids music. Yeah, it's really, we try to be very musical. I play violin, classical violin, so I try to play for her, and then I got her like a little foam violin so she can learn to hold it. We have pianos. Zoe's very good at playing the one finger piano. She's 2 but she's like brilliant. And then yeah, they're good at singing. They're actually very good singing voices.
And you play classical? That's okay. New one on me too. Wow. Holy
Yeah.
mackerel. Do you still do it?
Yeah, I've been a bit busy last few months, but yeah, I try to do it. I have a teacher here in San Francisco also and try to regularly do that. Yeah,
And do you
he's
just
plays for
practice alone? Do you play with other
he
people?
plays for the SF Ballet.
What's that?
For myself.
Oh,
My
okay.
teacher plays for the SF Ballet. Yeah, I for myself and my family. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Wow.
I'd love to get good enough one day to perform or jam with good people, but not yet.
I'm I just want to shout out, thank you, Tom, for prompting me to ask all of these questions of somebody that I talk to basically every day. So, yeah, hey, anybody, if anybody's got any questions for either of us, probably Joseph because he's a lot more interesting than I am. Hit us up with any questions. Yeah, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing right now?
Uh, yeah, I'm hoping this will be success. And then I guess the next thing, so I was building self-driving cars also a bit at Lyft. And I built the first self-driving car we had. That department ended up getting sold to Toyota. I that's kind of self-driving cars are almost solved, so I wouldn't be doing that now. Potentially something in AI, but that's also a bit saturated. So actually, I think what I'm excited about for the next decade is probably space. The Starship is allowing people to go to bring like huge amounts of payload at incredibly low cost into space, and then it opens up so many huge possibilities, like mining gold at asteroids and space-based solar, and just so many sci-fi things that are just
Interplanetary listening parties on Hangout. There you go.
yeah. One of our advisors wrote a book about interplanetary music parties. So I think there's something really cool about space. It's so unique, it's so complicated, and yeah, I think I could use my skills for that.
So what are you listening to these days when you listen?
Yeah, mostly Coco Melon.
You're driven by the junior generational DJs in the house. Is that the
Yeah, I mean the Feed.fm founder gave me a vinyl album, very Jeff Yehuda. I was very proud of that. It's a great album. It's a jazz album, so I love jazz as well. I'd love to be able to improvise as well as a jazz improvisationalist. So I love jazz a lot as well, and the kids love it too.
yeah? Tom, you just beat me to it. I was just about to talk about. So one of the cool things about, just again for the room here, one of the cool things about Hangout is it's really easy to use. So we've actually set up a room so when we're finished, we're gonna go over there. I got a whole queue of stuff lined up myself to play music, but we'd love to have whoever wants to join us when we're done, come in and play some music and get into a DJ battle with us or whatever, or just listen passively at your desk. So question from Rob Stefaniak, thank you. You see the question, what's the current relationship between Deep Cut FM and Hangout?
Never heard of it. It's like not a real thing. I don't know what that is, but
Okay. Rob, can you elaborate? Okay. So
oh,
actually, let's talk a little about Hangout while we're at it. So what's what how is, oh, actually, I did want to ask you this. I wanted to, so, you learned a growth hack. You were always growth hacking, but I think it's really important for people to understand that the other growth hack that you came up, and this is why it's another reason that I was interested in the platform. How did your relationship? How did you come up with a relationship with Discord? Like, how did that develop? Because um, for the room, if anybody doesn't understand, you can snap a Hangout room right into a Discord server, and that to me was like tremendously exciting, and maybe the reason that I got very excited about Hangout the second time around, in addition to having had my first experience with Turntable. How did that come to you, and how did that unfold?
So I actually looked at my old decks even in 2020. I saw that I had compared partners that we could use, including Discord from the very beginning. And I always thought there was some real resonance there and something we could do with them. But it lucked out that a couple of our advisors were at Discord or knew people at Discord. And I realized that in once we were getting ready to being near getting our deals done and getting ready to launch, I realized that maybe I should reach out and see if there's any opportunities to collaborate. And lucked out that the moment I emailed them, they said, "Oh, actually, we're starting this program. We want some early deep partnerships, and I think this is perfect." So I said, "Okay, great. So let's build on your platform." And it took a while to kind of negotiate that and build out the whole platform, but it took 2 years actually. Not as long as the labels, it still took a while, but we were, the earliest product, really refining the integration into Discord. And then we were launching with them, and then they're promoting us even to this day because they see us as like we're the only ones with all the music labels, deals, and things like that. Um, yeah.
And actually, shout out also to the chat. Any Discord power users on the chat? Let us know. Kind of curious, because for me, Discord is it's like incredibly useful. It's also incredibly, it's you have to be really committed to Discord, and lots of people are, and that's one of the things that's really cool about the way it integrates with Hangout. Um, what else? I don't know. I'm kind of sorry. I
Um,
just
can
lost my screen there for a second.
you,
Yeah.
maybe you can tell the group more about the unlimited supply. I think curious
Uh.
what the final end state is for it, and
What the final end state for unlimited
yeah,
supply?
like how do you see it? What's your dream goal of it?
I mean, basically, it's sort of. I think what I want to be is the guy who's informing people of the things that they're not paying attention to in the music industry because they're too busy doing their jobs, and that tends to be things that are outside of your day to day, like uh, things. If you're working at a record label, you're working at a management company, you're working at as a music professional. Who are you? Yes. Who am I and why am I here? If you're doing all of that stuff, you probably don't have time to pay attention to what's peripheral. And I knew this from experience when I was working at a record label. I tended to fall. You were talking about how when you missed Bitcoin because you had your head down, and when I was at uh, I missed Bitcoin in a similar way. I didn't really miss it, unfortunately, and I don't even want to admit that I think there was a Bitcoin that went to the grave with
Oh
my
no,
Sony laptop that I think
no.
I bought for $2. And because why not? And uh, so I don't like to think about that, but that's exactly the kind of thing that I wasn't paying attention to because I was worried about like how are we going to get Coheed and Cambria? How are we how are we going to get our Coheed and Cambria box set, recorded, produced, and to market, and or I was worried about doing a MySpace secret show with the Ting Tings in Philadelphia. So I was not paying attention very much to things like Bitcoin And so the idea of unlimited supply is to be the person in your ear every day going, well, if you're not paying attention to AI, here's what's happening, and here's like the two things you should know. In terms of end state, I just want, to have more people, more community, more voices. I have something called Axe Grinder, and basically anybody who's in the chat, if you have an axe to grind about a particular industry issue, hit me up. I love to have people guest on the show. I love diverse and pointed points of view. So, but yeah, I'm just trying to keep it going. And then I've got, a few consulting clients, along with my favorite one, who's right here.
I
So,
like that it's like very like bite-sized to the point, like the most important things, like you will catch it in here.
well,
And
I don't have, I didn't have time to read the trades every day, and I didn't have time even to search out for stuff. I mean, and that's one of the ways that I use podcasts is it comes in your ear. You can do you're walking down the street, or you are doing the dishes. I guess I do the dishes still. You're mowing the lawn. I like mowing the lawn. I like listening to stuff and learning stuff while I'm mowing the lawn. So that's the idea, basically, is for anybody in the music industry, business, tech, and finance stuff. Eat your vegetables. I try to candy coat the vegetables, and so that they go down easy. So, but yeah. So end state, I don't know, media mogul, but I'll also take a niche player who's useful to the right people. So,
Well, guys, we've only got a few minutes left, and so I'm going to recommend that we get ready to slide over to the Hangout link that is in here. Guys, I want to wrap up by emphasizing again the importance of what Lars is doing on unlimited supply. If you make your living in this business, it is a wonderful 5-minute read of what the hell is going on in this industry. And if you want to then click through to the articles that he references or read them or whatever, it's all right there at your fingertips or at your ears. So you'll be the smartest person in the room if you adopt that daily. Trust me. With that,
thank you, Tom. You are too kind.
Man, I love it. It's a part of my day every day because I'm trying to be smarter. But gentlemen, thank you for doing this today. Joseph, you are truly one of the smartest people we've ever had on here. A PhD in AI. Are you fucking kidding me? I can't even comprehend.
I dropped out of that, unfortunately.
That's even better. That's more credit. So.
And the highlight of the whole thing is sending a memo to Zuck saying we ought to do something in AI. That's smartest people in the room gold right there. I love it. But seriously, thank you, audience. I told you you'd leave today more inspired than you arrived. I think we delivered on that. And now everyone jump over and check out, hang out with us. We're going to jam out for a little while, and we'll see you here next week. Take care, folks.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks, Joseph. See you in the room.
Thanks, Lars. Thanks, Tom. See you in the room.